Hello, this is Scotty McCoy, and I am the author of the Ultimate Friday the 13th trivia book, and I am writing another book titled The Ultimate Slasher Movie Encyclopedia, and I am interviewing the cast and crew of the Friday the 13th franchise, and I currently have on the phone Robbi Morgan, who played Annie in the original 1980 Friday the 13th film. Hi, Robbi, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Scotty.
That's great. Well, it is your birthday today from what you last told me, so happy birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. I actually made a mistake on my own birthday. It's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Today's the 19th. I thought today was the 19th. It's tomorrow.
Oh, no problem. So the first question I have for you is, what was it like filming your death scene, and how did they set it up?
Well, believe it or not, we only did that next scene one time. When we were shooting the movie was so low budget that when they put the piece on my neck, we were losing the light, of
Right.
the day. And so once Tom Savini put on the piece on my neck and got it all set up, we only had time to do it one time. So we did it we did it. And then I jumped on the back of his scooter and went and jumped and took a shower because the blood that they used was kind of the old-fashioned makeup blood, and it would have stained my skin.
Oh, wow.
So the whole thing was very quick.
Wow.
From start to finish, it was very quick. We did it one time, and they got it, and that was that.
That's interesting.
I know.
So there was a scene where you jumped from Mrs. Voorhees' Jeep and onto the ground. Now, did you do your own stunts for that scene? And if so, how were you able to do that type of stunt?
I did do my own stunt because my whole life, well, I'm a singer and a dancer, and I was an acrobat. And so when they wanted, me to jump out of the Jeep, I was like, oh, I could do that. That's no problem. That'll be easy. And Tom Savini, they put blankets under the dirt so that when I jumped out of the Jeep and where I was going to land, it wasn't going to be, like hard, regular dirt. They padded the dirt, actually. And it was pretty easy. I jumped out, did that little front roll, and piece of cake.
I always love when you did that front row. I'm like, damn, that looks like it hurt.
When I jump out?
Yeah, when you jump out and then right into the dirt, into the ground.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it was good. It was easy.
That's awesome.
It was easy and fun, and a lot of fun to be able to do it myself.
I bet. So I'm going to actually throw in a bonus question. Now, who was in the Jeep driving since we never saw Mrs. Voorhees?
It was Tasso, Tom Savini's makeup assistant. His name is Tasso Stavrakis.
I always wondered how to pronounce that last name.
I'm sorry?
I said I always wondered how to pronounce that last name.
Yeah, Stavrakis. And not only was he driving the Jeep, but it's him that's killing me. It's really him that did his hand goes on my chest,
Right.
And he did the whole knife thing. It's really him. You could see when you watch the movie, it's not Betsy Palmer. It's whoever, he's got hair on his arm.
Right.
It was Tasso.
So what was your audition like for Friday the 13th?
Well, what was funny was I was auditioning for something else. And I went in to the casting director, and she said, you're not quite right for what we're doing, but down the hall, they're looking for camp counselors, and you'd be perfect. So I said, okay, and I went down to that other office, and at the time there wasn't anything to read for Annie. They didn't have a lot written for Annie. And so I went to the callback, actually. That's when I met Sean, and I guess he thought I was perfect too, and then wrote the part of Annie a little bigger for me. Kind of really made the part what it was.
That's awesome.
Even
watching you in the film, it's like you immediately fall in love with Annie. Like, you don't want her to die. Like, you love her so much. So the fact that you're so sweet and you're a great actress. So the fact that he immediately fell in love with you is no surprise that he can give you the part. You fit perfectly.
Thank you. And I remember seeing so many people, camp counselors, and at the time, like I said, I was an acrobat. I was, doing acrobatics for him, and in the audition, and look at this, and I was, very, excited and happy to be there. And so I'm so glad he cast me in the part.
That's great. So something not related to Friday the 13th is, how did you get your start into acting?
Well, my goodness. Well, my mom and dad were in vaudeville, and they were acrobats. They did an acrobatic act. And then when my oldest brother needed to go to school, they settled in New Jersey and they opened a dancing school. And then when my other brother and I came along, my mom, and dad put us all in show business. And so we started auditioning like when we were kids, very young. Like, my first job was when I was a baby. I did when I was 6 months old, I did a print ad for Gerber's biscuits. And then I did commercials, and I was working in an off-Broadway show when I was 6 and a half. And so my whole family, my brothers and I, all worked in show business as kids.
That's great.
So it was my mom. Yeah, it was my mom and dad who kind of just put us into show business. Sort of like taking on the family business,
Pretty much.
Yeah, carrying on the family business. It's funny.
So did you ever get to see or work with Betsy Palmer on set? And if so, what was it like working with somebody as legendary and iconic as Betsy Palmer?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to work with Betsy Palmer. I didn't get to work with anybody except, of course, Crazy Ralph. And, Ralph Gorney and the guy who drove the truck. Just my scenes. Just my scenes. Because I only worked on the movie for 2 days. Really, only for 2 days. So not only did I not get to work with Betsy Palmer, but I didn't get to work with anybody. Any of the other, counselors. So, but it's funny, my older brother worked with Betsy Palmer.
Really?
Betsy Palmer was playing Peter Pan in a theater production of Peter Pan, and my oldest brother was in that production with her.
Nice. That's awesome.
So it's such a small world.
So when you were in when your corpse was discovered by Alice in Mrs. Voorhees' truck or Jeep, was that did you get to see Betsy at all then, or was that just a dummy that was there to make it look like you?
Nope, it was me. It was me. I went back to the campsite for one night shoot. And they, put the makeup on my neck and got me all bloody, and I just sat in the Jeep and they shot it. But I didn't. But again, everybody was there and working, but I didn't have anything else to do.
Just lay there.
Just be dead in the Jeep. Yeah.
So
I didn't get to work with anybody.
I would have loved to work with Betsy and even Adrian. That would have been really cool to work with them. So what was your most memorable moment working on the film?
My most memorable? Well, let me think about this. It's always the stuff that's behind the scenes that's so fun.
I get that a lot with this question.
What?
I get that a lot with this question.
Yeah, it was really fun to do all the little scenes that I did, and walking through the town in the beginning, that was all really fun and sweet, but I had a ball with Tom and Tasso behind the scenes. Just being there, and we'd walk on our hands, and, we had a lot of laughs, and I'm trying to really think what was the highlight of the whole, my 2 days. Boy, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I would say about that. It was fun jumping out of the Jeep. It was fun running in the woods. because running in the woods, we did it, while Sean was running behind me with the camera.
Right.
And he was directing me while we were doing it. So, he would say, oh, your leg is hurting, fall down. Oh, get back up. Run some more, turn to the right, turn to the left. So I guess that might have been a highlight,
Yeah.
working with Sean Cunningham in the moment, running through the woods.
Right.
And doing all of that right in the moment was a lot of fun.
That does sound like a lot of fun. It's like a lot of, in a way, improv, because you're not really, like, they don't have in the script which way you're going to run or what you're going to exactly do. Like, a lot of it just comes together.
Exactly. It was totally an improv. And I loved it. I loved, working like that and working with Sean and being directed in the moment like that.
Right.
And, it was great. So I guess that was a highlight, huh?
Yeah, that definitely sounds like one. I would definitely love that too, because I especially when it's the final scene, like the death scene, leading up to the death scene, the chase scene, going to the death scene. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was the best part of filming Friday the 13th, and what was the worst?
Well, like I said, it was a really great, fun group of people, like Sean Cunningham, of course, and Tom and Tasso, and the whole atmosphere was just fun to get to be a part of it.
Right.
And also nobody had any idea that this movie was going to be as big of a hit as it was. It was a very, very low budget movie.
Right.
And we were all happy to be working, as actors. We were all just happy to be working. We had no idea,
Yeah.
when it came out, what was, so that was such a huge surprise. I mean, and after all these years, to be part of, like, an iconic, horror genre, franchise like Friday the 13th is such a sweet surprise,
Exactly. So,
really.
What was the worst?
Oh, there wasn't anything. There was no bad thing about it. Not one thing. I mean,
that's awesome.
Going back and seeing it, when you saw it for the first time and you heard the music playing, that's when it was really scary.
Yes.
It wasn't scary at all to shoot it.
Right.
But when I went to see it, when it first came out,
right,
it was frightening. And I'm a scaredy cat. I'm not a big fan of the horror genre. I don't go see horror movies. So that was sort of like, oh my gosh, it was,
Right. I can think of a worst, actually. You not having any scenes with Betsy Palmer.
Say that again?
I said I could think of a worse scene. You not having any scenes with Betsy Palmer.
Yeah, true. That was the bummer that I didn't get to work with any of the other actors.
I know, that would have been great to see you interact with them.
Yeah.
So speaking of Sean Cunningham, how was he as a director?
Oh, Sean was great. Sean was great. He's so easygoing and the nicest guy you ever want to meet. Just a doll. Love him. I love him still today. You know what, Scotty? Hold on 1 second. Stop the recording because I'm getting a call.
Okay, no problem.
Hold on.
Okay.
Scotty?
Yep.
Okay, I'm back. It was my son. My son is a Navy pilot.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I told him I'll call him back.
No problem. We have 2 more questions. But about Sean Cunningham, I actually got his email from Ron Milkey. He played Officer Dorff.
I'm sorry?
Ron Milkey, he played Officer Dorff in the original.
Yeah.
I interviewed him, and he got me a Sean Cunningham email, and I emailed Sean. He agreed to an interview, possibly for next week.
Oh, that's fantastic. You tell him, send him my love.
I definitely will. I'm excited for that interview. He told me that that I can use anything that's in the Crystal Lake Memories documentary that he answered, but he said questions that I asked him. Since I have a book out about the trivia, and since I he said since I definitely saw Crystal Lake Memories, he said ask him questions that he never had before.
Fantastic.
So I'm excited for that, actually. And I also interviewed Victor Miller, who wrote the script too.
Wow,
Yep,
you're getting some fantastic people.
Definitely, he was really good, really good interview too. I really enjoyed interviewing him. All right, so the next question I have is, seeing how much success Friday the 13th has generated in terms of both money and a fan base, what does it feel like knowing you were not just part of the original film of the franchise, but also being the first victim in the franchise in present day?
What does it feel like?
Yeah, like what does it feel like knowing that you're not just a part of that original film of the whole franchise, but being the first victim in the franchise in present day?
Well, it's really a very, very fun thing to have in my back pocket. Because when I tell people that I'm the first person killed, their faces change.
Right.
I don't necessarily get recognized because it was a long, long time ago, and also because people aren't expecting all these years later people don't recognize me and go, oh my gosh, but when I tell them that I was the first one killed in Friday the 13th, they're like, oh my God, that's amazing, that's so cool, that's like, they can't get over it. They cannot get over it. So it's really a fun thing to have, to have been a part of that, and still be a part of that, because when people meet me, like at the horror conventions, they are first of all, they're so sweet, and they just can't believe that they're talking to Annie,
Right. I can't believe it myself. Once you called and I answered the phone, I'm like, this is definitely Annie's voice.
Yeah.
So
it's really fun, and I feel so grateful. I feel so grateful to have, to have been a part of it. Life is so funny like that. You never know.
Right. So what did your son say when you first told him that you were in Friday the 13th?
Oh my gosh. Well, it wasn't until he was a teenager, where all of his friends thought I was very cool. I was probably the coolest mom in town because of that.
So the last question I have for you is, do you have any future projects that you are currently working on that you'd be able to tell the readers a bit about?
Well, the one thing I'm working on, I'm a singer and a dancer.
Okay.
And so I am putting together a one-woman show.
Right.
Where I'll be singing and dancing and telling stories. And so I'm currently working on that, and I hope to get to perform that show all over the place. I don't have anything booked yet, but I'm currently working on that.
Awesome. What's the name of the show?
I don't know yet. I don't know what the name of the show is yet. I gotta figure that out.
Well, sounds good. If you get it, once you come up with the name, let me know and I'll put it right in my book.
Oh, thank you, Scotty.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Not a problem. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I had a great time interviewing you.
Oh, thank you. I hope I answered all your questions.
You definitely did. You gave me a lot to do, a lot of work to do tonight.
Oh, good. And I hope that mostly of everything, I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of Friday the 13th, and all of the fans are just so sweet, and I'm so grateful.
That's great. And I mean, I'm grateful that you got to be in a franchise that I love so much, because I hurt inside when I see Annie get killed. I always want Annie to be that final girl.
Aww. Well, I'm alive and well,
That sounds great. That's even better. And I'm talking to her right now.
Right.
All right. Well, you have a good night and happy early birthday.
Oh, thank you, and good luck with the book.
Thank you very much.
When it's all put together.
I definitely will. It'll probably be a couple years until it's completely done, especially after all I told you earlier about how much is included. I'm only on chapter 1.
That's okay.
Yeah, but I'll definitely shoot you a message once it's available.
Okay.
Awesome. Have a good night.
Scotty. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.